name is John Dawson, and I'm doing a video today on how to do etchings on aluminum plates. For the most part, doing an etching on an aluminum plate is pretty much the same as on zinc or copper, but there are some very significant differences. Unlike zinc plates, the aluminum plates are not backed. They're the same on both sides. They usually have a little layer of plastic on one side to protect it, and the other side has not been coated like a zinc plate has. So you have to do something to protect it. There are a couple different ways to do that. The first, I suppose, the easiest way to do it is to just spray paint it, which is what I had done to this one. The problem with that is that it's easy to scratch. This one already has a little scratch in it, and sometimes the spray paint can begin to come off when you're cleaning the plate. A better way to do it is to use shelf paper, and I have a little demonstration as to how to do that. To begin with, we're going to cut the shelf paper larger than the plate. It's a lot easier to place the shelf paper onto the plate if you cut it larger. And you don't want to take the backing off right away. Just take it off a little bit at a time. And you want to try and smooth out all the bubbles as you're doing it. And if you pull it down a little at a time, as you see, you can get the shelf paper over the entire plate. And I go over it with a roller or a brayer to kind of flatten it out, make sure it's on there real tight. If you turn it over to cut off the shelf paper, it's really a lot easier. You can use the edge of the plate actually like a straight edge. And you just cut around it, all the way around the plate until all the shelf paper is gone. Okay, well, the mixture you need to etch the plate is very different from zinc and copper. You're not going to be using nitric acid or ferric chloride. To etch the aluminum plates, what you have to have is copper sulfate, salt, and water. Now, this happens to be sea salt. We just had it in our kitchen. You can use any kind of salt. It doesn't really matter. And what you're going to do is to put about 4 1/3 cups of water in a tray. You're going to add 7 tablespoons of copper sulfate and 7 tablespoons of salt. So it's equal amounts of copper sulfate and salt. If you're doing it in metrics, it'd be a liter of water with 100 grams of copper sulfate and 100 grams of salt. You're going to want something to stir it up with. It's all going to settle to the bottom. You have to stir it up real well. And then if you don't use it for a number of hours or a day or so, and you come back to use it, you're going to want to continue to stir it up before you put your plates in, because things tend to settle to the bottom, and it works better if you continue to stir it if you haven't used it for a while. So I'm going to do a little demonstration of how to mix it and what happens to the plate when you put it into the copper sulfate and salt mixture. 4 1/3 cups of water already in the this little tank here, and we add 7 tablespoons of copper sulfate. That's 2, 6, 7. And then 7 tablespoons of salt. So 1, 6, 7. And then you have to stir that up real good until everything dissolves. Now I have a plate here. It's actually a plate that did not work out so well, using it really as a test plate. And we'll put it in the solution and put it in there for probably about 30 or 40 seconds. Okay, this has been in solution about a minute, maybe a little more. One of the unique things about doing etchings on aluminum is that it creates its own aquatint. You don't have to, put rosin dust or spray paint or anything on it. It'll create its own aquatint by itself. It gets this black crusty area, and it kind of bubbles up, and then you just brush that off. And usually you can, helps to also wash it off. And if you want to continue to etch it, then you just put it back into the solution and continue to let it etch. If you're going to do an etch that's going to be fairly long, you want to take it out about every minute to minute and a half, and then clean it off again. See, it didn't take long. And clean it off again. And then it wouldn't hurt to wash it off if you are able to do that. And either if you can now clean off the ground and try to print it, or you could continue to etch it. So that's how you do the solution to etch a aluminum plate. And it's also how you can do a pretty simple aquatint. And I'll be talking a little bit more about the aquatints later on in the video. Well, for some reason I was under the impression that the copper sulfate solution got weaker pretty quickly. I wasn't sure that was true, and I really don't know where I heard that or why I was under that impression to start with. So after mixing up a batch of the copper sulfate solution, I did a test plate before I did anything else. And then about 2 weeks later, or maybe about 10 days later, and after using the solution for about 20 different times in the solution with a plate, I did another test plate, and I'll show you the results of that test. Well, this is a test plate that I did. The top one is when I first made the copper sulfate solution, and the bottom one is about 10 days or maybe 2 weeks later, after using it about 20 times. And as you can see, there's not a big difference. The bottom one is a little lighter. It does get a little bit weaker, but not really significantly weaker. And this also shows the various values that you get in different lengths of time in the acid, going from 15 seconds to 90 seconds. I'm not sure this would be totally accurate in every instance, but it might be a good guide to begin with. Well, the aluminum plates are actually pretty soft, and for those who are interested in doing Drypoint, this might be a good possibility. I think it would probably work as well as plexiglass or probably copper. The one advantage, of course, of doing dry point is that you don't need to mix up the copper sulfate solution because it doesn't go into the acid to etch anyway. I did a short little piece on a test plate of cross hatching, which I will show right now. Well, dry point is not something I've really done very much of. Never been that interested in it. As you can see from this, you can get some nice darks as well as some very nice lines. I used a ordinary etching tool instead of a steel engraving tool, which I also have, but I didn't need it. The aluminum was soft enough that you can use pretty much any sharp tool to do a dry point. Well, most of the usual etching techniques seem to work just fine on aluminum plates. Hard ground, soft ground. For soft ground, if you're going to press fabric into it, you're going to need to leave it in the copper sulfate solution a little longer. It takes a while to actually get the results that you probably want. Sugar lift worked okay. You can even do a spit bite. The way you need to do a spit bite is to brush on a little bit of water, a little bit of gum arabic, and then brush on some of the copper sulfate. Now, the copper sulfate doesn't react to the plate as quickly as nitric does in doing a spit bite on a zinc plate. So you have to leave it on there a little longer. It's hard to judge exactly how long to leave it on there, but you can actually do it more than once to get hopefully the results you're looking for. Now, aquatint. As I mentioned before, putting the plate directly into the acid will create its own aquatint. You don't need, rosin dust or spray paint or any of the usual things you use on a zinc plate or a copper plate. And as I showed in a test plate that was on the video earlier, the different lengths of time that you can have the plate in the acid to get different values. However, it seems to be unpredictable. I had a lot of trouble getting proper values into certain areas of the aluminum plate. And I'm not sure why. I think that maybe that's why some people felt that the acid got weaker as you used it. I have no idea why that happened. At any rate, it doesn't, it's a little unpredictable. If you get it too dark, the plates are fairly soft and you can scratch back areas pretty easily. Then I was wondering exactly how many prints you could get from a aluminum plate with an aquatint on it. So I did about 6 or 7 prints of the same plate, and I'm going to show the results. Well, as you can see from this example, by the 6th time through the press, it's beginning to significantly lose the darks in the original print. This is probably a worst case example, and I have one other one to show that's not quite as bad. Well, once again, you can see that we're losing the darks pretty quickly by the 6th print through the press. Now, the dark areas on the figure that did stay dark, I had gone over with an etching tool to scratch in lines over the aquatint, and they stayed pretty strong, but most of the real darks began to fade pretty quickly. Okay, well, after you're done using the copper sulfate solution, the disposal is a big deal. Do not put it down your sink or in your pipes or in the sewer system or your septic tank. It's very, very bad for all of those things. Definitely do not pour it down your drain. The simplest way to get rid of it is to just let it evaporate. And actually, after it evaporates down, it'll probably turn into little crystals like this, which are pretty easy to clean out and then dispose of in a far more ecologically safe manner. But in any event, however you choose to dispose of it, don't put it down your sink or don't put it down your drain. That's a very, very bad thing to do. So what exactly are the pros and cons of using aluminum plates over zinc or copper? The first and most obvious one is the cost. The aluminum plates are much cheaper than the zinc, and probably a lot cheaper than the copper. They're also a lot lighter, if that makes any difference at all. The other advantage, I guess, for some people is the copper sulfate solution as opposed to the nitric or ferric chloride solution. I don't know. Some people are hesitant to use the nitric solution. I don't find that a big deal personally. The problems with the big problem for me with the zinc plate is the durability. It doesn't seem to me that the aquatints last very long at all. Now, if you're going to do an etching that's primarily line etching, just etched lines, that seems to hold up very well, and I think that would work just fine if you wanted to do etchings on aluminum plates. So that's about it for this one, and I'll be showing some examples of the prints that I did on aluminum plates, and be following that up with the address for my website and my Facebook page, and you can see other videos of mine on YouTube.